original idea, this film?
Original idea.
So this is for your master's
It's for my master's thesis.
at San Diego State.
Yeah, for San Diego State University.
Are you going to try to turn this into a commercial film?
I would like to. The goal is to take this 30-minute film, which is about a quarter of a feature.
Right.
Think about a feature being 2 hours long.
Right.
I'd like to take this and take this short screenplay. It's designed to be expanded out into feature length.
Right.
And then I'd like to go find investors and then make this as an ultra-low budget feature film, and I'd like to do that right away.
That'd be really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it would be cool. And so for me, at this point in my career, it's just shifting to a new direction and going more into narrative work. And that's a good career growth path for me. I really have enjoyed working with the actors and in the 2 years that I've been at San Diego State.
That's awesome. So did you write this?
I did write this. In fact, the man who was playing the part of the father was my screenwriting professor, and he liked the screenplay so much that he said, "Can my daughter and I come and play in this?"
Really?
That is really cool.
So it was wonderful. So he was here with her this morning, and she didn't have any speaking lines, so technically she's not really employed. She's
Right.
not really.
Well, let me ask you this question. But have you done previous films? You said you were a producer. Any films that we might know? Or?
Well, I started my career in sound at National Public Radio, and then I went to radio, TV, and film school. And after working at NPR for 3 years, I transferred to Lucasfilm in Orange
really?
County.
Oh,
So
wow.
I worked
Very
on.
wonderful.
Yeah, I worked on the sound, which is the craft that I was practicing back then, on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom,
Very nice.
on the foreign versions of Return of the Jedi. So I actually started as a young person at about age 27 in feature films, and then I went on and had a long career in television and corporate producing.
With sound.
With sound. Not only with sound, but then I began producing. When I left Lucasfilm, I started producing for corporate clients and making films and videos for either nonprofits or telling stories with picture and sound to benefit all kinds of different people. And I did all of the marketing materials for Oregon State University.
The Beavers.
The Beavers. We lived up there for while our children were young.
I was going to ask you, so you're married with children?
Yes, and my husband is the post-production supervisor and the editor on the film.
It's all
That's awesome.
It is. We have a small company called Hot Sprocket Films. And
Say it again, please.
Hot Sprocket Films.
Hot Sprocket Films.
Yeah. And so we work together, and I'm a producer-director, and
So
I
you're
write.
an independent production
Production company.
Strong. I love
and
that.
he's the post-production editor, and it's funny because he doesn't usually come out on location with
So
me.
let me ask you this question.
Sure.
One question. How much is to bankroll this film that you're doing?
Okay, the film.
Approximate.
Okay. This film, because a lot of the people that you see here are students or are donating their time or they're working at a reduced rate.
Right.
So this film is probably, I'm going to go out of pocket about $20,000.
That's it?
That's it. But it seems like a lot to
It
me.
is a lot. It is a lot.
What
How
about
many days of
that?
how many days of shooting do you have scheduled?
7 days of shooting.
7 days of shooting.
Yes.
And the titles now. You're producing.
I'm producing, but I also have a producing partner on this film.
Okay.
So that while I'm on location, I'm trying not to handle any producing functions, so I
Right.
can focus on my actors and I'm
Right.
making sure the story is really following contiguously. And she is a wonderful producer. Her name is Jill Schrag.
Jill Schrag.
And I've never actually worked with her, although it wouldn't be uncommon. If we weren't in a recession and everybody was working, it's
Right.
quite likely we could be co-producing on something.
That's awesome.
It seems to me that, just as a comment, the highest profile person in the film looks to be Ben Reed.
Ben
That
Reed.
seems to be pretty well. I mean, I'm not a big TV fan. But
Yeah, well, do you recognize him from House?
That's where I recognized him from. I knew
He guest
it.
starred on House a few weeks ago.
He's
maybe
got a
4 or
great
5 weeks.
personality.
He has a wonderful personality. He's very easy to work with. Wonderful, wonderful man.
So now he's being paid to do this film,
He
correct?
is, because he's a SAG actor, so 4 of our actors are SAG and they're being paid. My director of photography is being paid, but he's someone I've been working with for 12 years, and so I really wanted to have him do this because it's the kind of support that I need from
Right.
people that I know.
Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
I think that it's very impressive doing what you're doing.
Thank
And the
you.
question I would have to you is, what message would you like to send the women, especially, that aspire to do this as a career?
Okay. Well, when I started in this, I was 17 years old, and I'm still working in radio, TV, and film. It's kind of hard to believe.
Wait a minute, come on now. Hold
Yeah.
on. I hate to say this, I never asked this question.
Then don't ask
No,
it.
I'm
right.
happy to say I'm 52. It's
52.
fine. This is no
Well, you're
history.
younger than me.
But I have I've worn many different hats over all of those years.
35 years.
And I remember when I started there were some men who were very resistant to women working in the field, but many of them were encouraging, and they found it kind of interesting. And in the early 80s, it became pretty easy to find work and to be able to grow your career. But I'm sorry to say the very bad news that I have about now is that our industry, the film industry, is the only industry that has gone backwards with respect to opportunities for women. In the cinematography area, we have less than, I don't know, maybe 5% of the cinematographers on major films are. I think that it's a very, we call it an impacted industry, which is making a noun into a verb. I'm very sorry about that.
It's okay.
But
you're allowed. You're creative.
Yeah, are you making a verb into a noun? But
whatever.
Whatever is the wrong thing to do.
Right.
It really is. It's because it has become, and maybe this is what Spielberg and Lucas, it's kind of the legacy, or Rodriguez. It's film has become like what rock and roll used to be when I was young. Everybody would love to do this. It's a glamour profession, and so
I guess
there are many people who want to do it. And so when there are many people who want to do it, I think it becomes a little bit harder for women, because we're seeing sort of a similar phenomenon for women, and now women directors, producers, directors of photography. Not so much producers. We have about 45% market penetration with women in producing, but the directors and the directors of photography, by and large, are men.
And
low numbers, below 10%.
So the question gets redirected to you.
Yes.
What do you attribute that to? Why are women not either being successful or proceeding or growing in your industry?
Well, I think we've forgotten to make it a priority, our industry as a whole. I mean, we simply are not saying, you know, if you're going to make this hiring decision, can you hire a woman? And what surprises me is that I am a producer in my professional life, and I hire myself to direct when I can. It's one of the reasons I produce. I love to direct. Many people do. Sometimes I know that I can't do both jobs well, so I'll hire one or the other, usually a director, because the producing is very important, and it's hard to find someone to do it. But I'm staggered by this, and I'm thinking a lot about it, because if 45% of the people who are working are producers, perhaps not on the big 250 films that get made each year at the studio level. Maybe there aren't as many women in those roles. But we're the ones who hire, so why aren't we hiring women?
Right.
You know, I'm going to tell you something very interesting.
Yes.
I relate to film because I'm a very big sports fan. You made an interesting statement about doing both film directing and producing. In baseball, you have a general manager and a manager. Sometimes guys do the same, do both those jobs.
Yes.
My point being is that there's something extremely important involved in those developments, and that's called patience and perseverance. And guess what? A lot of women, I hate to say this, are lacking in that, because what happens is they make their career choice. Are they going to get married and devote themselves to their husband and family and blah, blah, blah? Or are they going to go through a career and persevere that?
Yeah.
To put the two together is pretty darn difficult.
It is very difficult, and we were promised, those of us who are my age, there was this generation of women, our age, there was this generation of women who said, you can have it all. In fact, we expect you to.
Right.
We expect you to have a very high-paying career and to also have a family. And I can tell you that from my peers that I've watched do it, some professions aren't as forgiving as others.
Well,
and, film is so all-consuming that if you're a director, if you're Steven Spielberg and you're directing at that level, I mean, heck, you need vitamin shots to get through the day.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe it's, but there are some very wonderful women directors who don't get opportunities, and it's too bad. Now, at San Diego State, we have something very exciting happening that I want to tell you about. We have now the Center for the Study of Women in Media. And this is Martha Lawson's department, and it's brand new there. And she does research, which is why I was able to give you a couple of statistics today.
Sure.
And I know that if you go and you look at her website, you'll see all those numbers are there. And so she's been gathering the statistics, and I'm hoping that what will come next is the why. Because now we're determining the what. And now we know the status of women in our industry. We know we have hard numbers. Why?
You know
is the next
what the
question.
answer to it all is?